I know that Haley and I've talked about this, and so I just kind of want to hear your story, like what happens to you, what sort of stuff you remember experiencing, and is it the same each time, or does it happen and different things happen, um, and how you feel?
So the first time it ever happened to me was I was 17 years old and obviously sleeping in my bed. And I felt like I was fully awake. And obviously I was not because I couldn't move, but I could literally feel a human like touching up my entire body and then was breathing like over my face. And I felt like it was probably maybe 10 minutes of that where I couldn't move, I couldn't breathe, I couldn't scream. And by the time I actually was able to move and wake myself up, I guess, I ran to my mom's room screaming and crying, telling her somebody's in my room, somebody was just climbing over top of me, somebody's in my room. And at 17, obviously this isn't a 2-year-old coming in telling you there's a monster in my closet. So she's freaking out and they run into my room. And after 10 minutes of searching it, she's like, nobody is in your room. And I'm like, I swear I'm throwing a fit crying. And I ended up sleeping in her room that night because I couldn't go back to sleep in my room. I was so terrified. And and nobody would go back in my room. Nobody would sleep in my room for weeks. And it never happened again in that room. But then I slept in my brother's room like for 2 weeks because I was terrified to go back into my room. And it happened again in his room. And I just the same thing. I felt like somebody was touching me or on top of me, but I couldn't see anything because it was pitch black. But I could swear that somebody was on top of me, and I just couldn't move or scream or do anything until I finally got that up and moving, and I ran as fast as I could. And same thing, my mom checked the bedroom again and was like, there's nobody in your room. And then it didn't happen again for a long time. And then my aunt and my cousin moved in, and I offered up my room. I didn't want to sleep in it.
Right.
So then we never told them any of that. I only told my mom, and she just thought that I had a nightmare and kind of just brushed it off as nothing. And we never told anyone about it because obviously it wasn't, it didn't seem like a big deal. Well, after they'd been there for a couple weeks, my cousin comes running down crying and tears, telling me that there's a little girl in my room. She just saw her in the mirror and freaks out. And me and my mom look at each other like, and I'm like, I'm not crazy. So this isn't just me. And well, we never found out like if anything had ever happened in the house. There's no record of anything happening, but I could swear that there is something or somebody in that room, and it was absolutely terrifying technically I was almost an adult, I'm at the age of comprehending a monster in my closet per real person, and it was the most terrifying experience ever. And it happened again. My aunt said that she could feel somebody in the room as well, and nobody would sleep in that room after that. So I don't know what the heck happened, but that's kind of I don't think it ever really happened again.
So you haven't experienced it like as an adult and even recently?
No, since moving out of my mom's, I've not experienced any of it ever again.
Do you think that, like, while it was happening, you felt like something was crawling on you? Did you ever at any time like hallucinate that you were actually physically moving and getting out somewhere?
I felt like I was screaming, but nothing was coming out. And I felt
right.
It's like a dream where you feel like you're punching somebody and you just like your arm is not happening.
Yeah.
You're trying to run as fast as you can and you can't. That's almost what it felt like, was where I was doing it, but it just wasn't happening. So I thought that I was screaming. I thought that I was trying to get from this person, but nothing was physically actually happening.
Yeah, that's what I experienced. The first time it ever happened, I thought someone was like trying to get inside my body.
Yeah.
And so, and I've had that same thing where, I've just woke up and finally the scream has come out,
Mm-hmm.
and scared the shit out of Scott.
That's what happened to me. As soon as it was like a light switch just clicks,
Yeah.
and it's like it all comes out at once.
It's awful because I did some research on it, and like everybody shares the same three things basically. One is they think that they call it like the incubus, which is like a demon that supposedly tries to have sex with humans. They've said that, and they've said like they feel like there's an intruder in the room. And I've felt both of those, and it's always a black. There's no features to it. It's just
like a shadow.
Yeah, black shadow, and it slowly climbs. Yeah, it slowly climbs from your feet and comes up that way. And the third one was like the outer body experience, where I thought I was literally crawling on my hands and knees going out of the bedroom, but I wasn't. And that was pretty traumatic. Like I slept with the lights on after that, it was just, and so they say, and it is something with your brain, and they had all these technical terms, and there's just, no, I cannot even, no, it's just something's wiring weird. And your body does certain things when it goes to sleep to keep you from acting out your dreams. And so that's where it comes from. It's just kind of like your mind starts to wake up a little bit, but the rest of you is, but the weird thing to me is like how everybody around the world has the same experience. It is creepy, and how they see, like, how is that possible? How is somebody, in another country able to experience the same thing that we experience? And thank God it doesn't happen all the time. It's happened more since we moved in here, but it's not gotten to the point where I'm afraid to go to sleep. And the last time that it happened, I thought I was awake. I didn't realize I had fallen asleep, and I felt something sit on my bedside, and I remember thinking, nope, and I just sat straight up and tried to wake myself up, and I screamed, and Scott was like, are you fine? And so I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
Yeah.
And there's like no warning,
Yeah, it's pretty terrifying. I guess I don't know about if it's the same, but I've like seen people, I guess, like in our room. It happened a lot in morning drive, where I had called my mom multiple times saying there's somebody in my house, there's someone in my house, and she even brought over midnight her pit bull and made him search the house, because I was like, I'm telling you, somebody. And then I packed my shit and I went to her house, because I was like,
Really?
Yeah, and my TV would turn on and off all the time in the middle of the night. And my grandma, both of my grandmas, and I think my grandma's husband died in that house. So in that house, 3 people had passed away inside of the house. And so I was just like, I don't know if I'm just telling myself this because or, but it was uncomfortable. I didn't want to stay there for like the first 2 months that I lived there alone.
I remember that. Yeah. And I can totally see. And I think that, they're everywhere. And I especially think that they're somewhere that they felt most comfortable, which, your grandma lived there. It was in your family forever.
Gosh, that was her house for like 40 years.
Right. So where's she going to go? I'm sure she's entertaining the new owners.
Yeah, it made me feel a little more comfort, obviously knowing who they were, but still doesn't feel good. Like, please go away right now.
Well, talk about some of your experiences there then. I mean, like...
like I said, the TV on and off a lot. I heard a lot of noises in the basement. And when I shared this with family, they said, have you heard any knocking on the basement door? And I'm like, anyone's knocking on my basement door, I'm leaving immediately. Because that basement was already like, I mean, it's old house built in the 50s, so it's kind of creepy already. And it was like old, loud wooden door, like that real thin wood, so it was loud. And they said they used to hear a lot of knocking on the basement because my grandpa would go down there and my grandma would forget and like lock the door, and he would have to knock to get back up.
You'd forget.
Yeah, exactly. And so I never heard the knocking, but other people said that they heard the knocking. But I know that when I was little, I can remember my brother Hayden, who is now in college, he used to see my grandma all the time at our old house.
Oh, wow.
And this was in Lancaster, but we had things that would have where his, like, he had little writing toys and stuff, and they would go from one side of the house to the other without anyone like touching them, and we would just come back in the room. Nobody was in there, but it would just be on the other side, and he would always say, "Oh, that's just Grandma Rosie." Yeah. And she passed away before I was born, so, you know, we only ever saw maybe 2 or 3 pictures of her at that point. He was only 2 years old, so I mean, it's hard to comprehend. Oh, this is, you know, it's not somebody you see every day. So, and he would just tell us, "Oh, it's just Grandma Rosie," and it would scare the heck out of me because I was like 9 at the time. So I'm like, what?
Right? Your grandma I don't know about? Oh, no kidding. Have you, like, has Zach ever talked about anything, or like even like the sleep paralysis? I mean,
I don't know if he's ever had like sleep paralysis in the way that like we have.
Yeah.
Feeling people and stuff. I think he has thought he's in certain situations because he's woke up and punched me in the face before. A little accident. But he did. He rolled over one night and just socked me in the face. And he instantly woke up and was like freaking out. But he was like, "I'm so sorry. I thought that I was somewhere. I had no idea." I was just so upset, and it didn't even like hurt. I think because I was fully asleep, and I was just like, "Get away from me, go back to sleep."
Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, I mean, they say that like 1 out of 10 people experience this in a lifetime.
Oh wow, that's not very.
There's a lot of videos that are out there, and it stems back like thousands of years. And each culture has a different name for it. And I was floored. It was just kind of like, wow. Yeah. That each culture has a different name for it and believe it's there for a different reason. But I watched this doctor, and he had all the medical terms and stuff for it, and it's almost like when you're asleep, your brain never stops. And so there's something in the background that's going on that sometimes doesn't always communicate with each other. And that's what causes the, like, I'm awake. Why can't I move? Why can't I scream? Why can't I talk? What's on me, you know? And a lot of like in the paranormal world, people talk about this and they think it's like ghosts. And a lot of them tried to just kind of explain, like, no, this is not a ghost attacking you. You know, this is probably what this is. And I think a lot of people experience it and have absolutely no idea what it is.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, I'm lucky because I don't have it every night. It's not anything that common with me. Yeah. But when it does, I'm like, I just feel like I'm trying to fight my way out of an airtight bag.
Yeah.
You know?
I can't imagine having this all the time, or like weekly, or even nightly. I mean, that's...
I wouldn't... Who would want to...
Just the feeling of... You can see that you're... I mean, because normally you can see your bedroom. So it's not like you're in Paris, you know, on a park bench and this is happening.
Yeah, right.
You can physically see the room around you, right, and you're in a common space that you're in, like your bed or wherever you are sleeping. So it's not like, oh, you know, I'm at McDonald's. This is fake. I'm in my bed and someone is over top
Right.
of me.
Right. And like the first time it ever happened, I thought they were trying to suffocate me. I felt like they were trying to go down my throat. And that was probably the most intense experience I ever had.
Yeah.
And I woke the kids up. I tore hell down the hallway because I was scared. And Zach come out of his room and was like, "Everything okay?"
Yeah.
And I kept asking Scott, "Am I awake?" And we slept with the light on, and I made him hold me. So I was like, I don't know what just happened. And I thought Kirsten's room was haunted.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I never slept in there again. And, I was just like, no.
On Great Hunter?
No, this was at White Oak.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I know you always said that you felt like there was somebody in that room.
No, there was.
I
that
never
house.
Felt it
You never did?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I did. I would be in there doing crafts and like just turn around real quick because I thought somebody was coming through the door. I hated the feeling of the upstairs.
Yeah.
Hated it. But never felt by myself in that house. Ever. So, I don't know. But it's an interesting topic.
Yeah.
And if you ever
have you ever said like what causes it or like what they think causes it, I guess medically?
Yeah, there's, like I said, the medical terms were like way over my head, and it just has to do with what is firing and what's not connecting. And it's almost like you're in REM sleep and you wake up all of a sudden, but the rest of you hasn't woke up yet. It's just, I don't know. It's very technical. Like the neurologist, wow, they're smart. Not do that. Just like, you dumb it down for me and let me know what I have to do.
Green wire isn't touching the red wires. So.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's a white wire in there. That's exactly right. So yeah, it, like I said, doesn't happen a lot, but when it does, it's just, I'm more in tune with it now though.
Yeah.
I still panic because it's terrifying.
Yeah.
But once I wake up, I usually like wake up Scott because I'm usually not going to go back to sleep by myself.
Yeah. It's an awful like you're paralyzed all over except for your brain. That's the only thing that's like working. It's
yeah.
Oh, it's a terrible feeling.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. And just trying to scream, and you can't. But when it comes out, man, it's loud.
Yeah.
That kind of covers it. Like for people who are not in the medical field, we can only describe how we feel and what we think we're seeing, but none of it's real. Yeah. That's the thing. None of it's real. You think it is, but it isn't. It's just literally your brain playing tricks on you. Mm-hmm. There's actually no shadow man in your room, and it's just, I don't know. I have a hard time like believing that, even though they're in the Bible, but just, demons and, that just, no. And that's fucking terrifying. No. So, I don't know. It's just a phenomenon, and they never go away. Mm-hmm. Like that happened to you when you were 17.
Yeah. Oh, I can.
And it is
remember the feeling
so fresh.
like, and it's not like a dream where you're like, oh, I don't know if what happened in the middle, but I can literally remember start to finish everything.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
That's the other thing too. It's like and that's what I told Grant one time. I was like, it never goes away. It's like so vivid in your mind. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's kind of sucks in a way, because you, even like bad dreams, you forget about. Yeah. But these, for some reason, that's what I'd like to know, is why you remember them so vividly. Yeah.
It's almost
and
like
it could be just the experience that you're having, like you're just that terrified.
Yeah.
Do what?
I said it's almost like a memory instead of a dream. I mean, you can remember.
That's a good point.
Like, yeah, remember the event of it. not just waking up part, but you can,
Right.
I can remember multiple times where I've woken up from a bad dream, but I couldn't tell you what the dream was about. But this, I can remember all of it.
Yeah. It's almost like it's embedded in your memory in just some odd way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's true. Because, yeah, I mean, dreams, of course, you can remember bits and pieces of dreams
Yeah.
sometimes if they really affect you. But this shit, like, is like, nope, I remember exactly how I felt, what was going through my mind.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's interesting and it gets your curiosity going, I think,
Yeah.
a little bit. But yeah, they've never talked about how you can prevent them. So
That would be nice.
I did watch, right? Well, I did watch one video of a guy who was just like 6 things to do when not to do when you're having sleep paralysis. And I'm like, you realize what you just said. We're sleeping. So this is what we're not to do. And, he was just like, one is panic. I'm like, he said, because then deep, dark thoughts come out. And I'm like, no, I don't recall that.
When I woke up in that feeling. Like,
Yeah, right? Maybe afterwards, but nothing goes through my mind except for getting out of it. And that's how I remember it, is just trying to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh my goodness. Yeah, everybody's got their opinion, I guess. And look at us. We're among them now.
Yeah.